In the dead of night, when the moon is high and ill winds blow, and the banshees cry and the moonlight casts an unearthly glow, arise, my love, with tales of woe.
Good evening. It is 12 midnight, the paranormal hour. Welcome to Ghost. I'm your host, Chief Lawson. Ghost is a podcast to discuss all paranormal and parapsychology subjects. You can find Ghost on all major formats, so tell your friends, tell your family. Come listen to Ghost. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the midnight hour. It is time for Ghost. Tonight, I have with me Heather Lawson, our director and co-host.
Hello.
Ciara Medley, our producer and co-host.
Hello.
And Jennifer Verne, our research manager on Spirit.
Good evening.
And we have special guests tonight, Robin, Terry, and Ashley. And Ashley, how do you pronounce your last name?
Burgoon.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. All right, and they are with Ashmore Estates. And that is the subject of our broadcast tonight, is Ashmore Estates. So, Jennifer, would you like to start us out?
Yeah, we're just going to do a quick little breakdown because Ashmore Estates over in Illinois is probably one of the best known haunts in Illinois. It's extremely well known, extremely active, and extremely well loved. As the saying goes, some called it home. Right, Robin?
Yep, that's what I came up with that tagline when I first bought it, just because I felt that that's what the spirits in the building were there. They just felt it was their home, and they liked it there, and it's kind of stuck with the building ever since.
Yep. And now we all call it home.
Well, and
I literally call it home.
Yeah. You do, actually.
You live on site, right?
Yes, I do. I live actually next to the building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, originally Ashmore Estates was the Coles County Poor Farm. The original Coles County Poor Farm was in 1857, and it was located out in Charleston Township, which is not very far from Ashmore, if I'm accurate. Is that correct, Robin?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. And then in 1870, the county then purchased a lot of acres, right? How many acres did they purchase then to put the building up?
It was a little less than 300, about 270 acres or so.
Okay. And so that first building was just a 2-story wooden brick building, right? And it was only there until, 1879? Is that correct? Or 1870?
I think it was about 1879.
Okay. And at that point,
it was there until they built a new one.
Right. Hold on just a second. Yeah. 1870, the new one went in with 250 inmates. And then that was until 1879, it looks like. And I think
the existing building is the new one that they built. They built that one in 1916.
Yeah, that was in 1916 when the auxiliary came in and condemned the first building because of infestation and rodents and just really deplorable living conditions, from what I understand.
Right.
Now, let me ask you, it said here it's next to the Indianapolis, at the time it was next to the Indianapolis-St. Louis Railroad. So you're near tracks?
Not anymore. Those were taken out.
Okay.
Yeah, they were
okay.
But they were right there behind.
Yeah.
Because, Ashley, didn't you tell a story about how they would ship in orphans on the train and just drop them outside?
So I've been told, and it's not documented or anything, but supposedly they called it the orphan train, and they would bring orphans in and drop them off. So, like I said, it's not documented or anything, but that's what I've been told from some people that have done history around here before.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
Where did the orphans come
from? The train
from?
tracks ran along
All
16, over. Which is the highway that runs in front of the building.
Okay.
So that's where the train tracks were, where the highway is now. They ran alongside that then?
Yes.
Okay.
So they just gathered up any of the orphans in the area and dropped them off on their way through. Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably from the surrounding states as well, I would imagine.
That makes sense. I mean, things were looser then. They didn't have as much record of things as they used to. So, if they had an overflow, they would stick 2 or 3 of them on a wagon and send them wherever they could. So
Right.
I get that. Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense. All right.
And for that first poorhouse there's an unmarked cemetery, right?
Yes.
And we don't know how many people were buried there. Is that the one that's underneath the tree, Ashley?
Yeah, that's the one that's behind the building.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And those are residents that are buried there? Or?
We believe that those were, the
Very, very
So
early.
they were actually called inmates during the poor farm.
Really?
Yeah.
During the poor farm, they were actually called inmates, even though they weren't technically kept here. I mean, they could leave if they wanted. But yeah, that's actually what they were called when they were here.
Right.
Wow.
And I think that's pretty common for most poorhouses throughout the nation. They were called inmates.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Heck of a way to live,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
The current building that we see today, like Robin said, was built in 1916, and it stayed a poor farm until 1959, at which point Coles County then sold it to Ashmore Estates, and they used it as a private psychiatric hospital. And that stayed open until October of 64. That hospital closed down because of debt, and then it reopened in 1965, and they then started taking patients from the mental institutions there in the state.
Okay.
And at that point, they housed 49 residents, mental patients, and epilepsy patients. And then in 1976, Paul Swinford and Gail Martine purchased it and started construction in 77 through 1980. And Robin, I'm uncertain as to exactly what they were going to do with that. Were they going to turn that into a nursing home or something?
Swinford planned on doing some stuff like that with the hospital, and then a home for the elderly and all. But then another guy bought it after that, and he was going to build it basically. Before that, he was going to build a house in it.
Yeah, I think that was Sullivan. No, Arthur Colsher.
Yeah, Coleflake there.
Yeah, he bought it, and he was going to turn it into a residence, but he kept having issues with vandalism, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then Scott Kelly purchased it in 2006, and he was offering flashlight tours. And then did I hear that he also ran a haunted house out of it at that time?
Yeah, that's what Scott did with it.
Okay. And then you purchased it from Scott in 2014, yes?
No, I bought it from the guy that won it at auction.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. So Scott lost it after the tornado in 2013, or did he just walk away?
He sold it at auction.
He sold it at auction after that tornado. Okay. And then Robin and Norma bought it, and the rest is history, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. And I got all of this information from your beautiful website, and you guys have broken
Yeah,
it.
you have a wonderful
Amazing.
website. You do.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well, then Ashley and I entered into a contract in January of last year where she's buying it from me now.
Okay, that was my next question, is because I know that you were the owner, and then I had seen somewhere, I think when the storm damage happened, you asked Ashley, "You want me to take it back?" And Ashley's like, "Oh, heck no." Right, Ashley?
Yeah. He when I first called him, when the storm had hit, to tell him, the bad news as I was trying to hold it all in.
Right.
Because I did not want to make that phone call. And his first thing was, if you want to give it back, you can give it back. And I pretty much, blankety blinked, was like, that's not happening.
Exactly.
It was going to take a lot more than that to make that happen.
Right. Right.
Just because, I actually moved 2 hours from where I'm from, for this building. I'm not from this area either.
You're out near Alton, right? That's where you're from?
Yeah, I'm actually,
Illinois?
from the Alton area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
I actually moved 2 hours also, for this building.
There are just certain buildings that just call
It's going to take
you.
a lot more than that.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening to someone else talk about it, and there seems to be, once you guys got your hands on it in 2014 and started preserving the history of it and, making it the home that these people remember, that the building finally said, I'm here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like before that,
Got
every
adjusted.
time they tried to turn it into a psych ward or a nursing home or a hospital, the building always said no. And it's like, now that you guys have it and are preserving its history and telling its story, the building is like, we're here to stay. Let's do this. What do you think about that, Ashley?
I kind of feel the same way. I mean, I don't know what it is, and I still don't really know what it is. I think there's certain ones of us that go into that building and it kind of grabs us and doesn't let go.
Right.
That's, the first time I ever came to the building was probably about a week or so after Robin bought it. And I just came up here to help clean it out, with a team that I was on from down in Alton, and that's how I met Robin. And I just, kept coming back, and one thing led to another. And I think the spirits that are in the building just know, the ones of us that care just as much about it as they do. And, want to keep it standing as long as we possibly can.
Yep, I agree. Now, real quick before we get into the history, I have a quick question, Robin. I know that you have a connection to Rhodes Hotel in Atlanta, and we just talked with Crystal last month, and that's when I realized, did you own the Rhodes before Mike purchased it?
No, actually, what I did is I loaned Lost Limbs Foundation, the charity, the money to buy roads.
Oh, okay. I understand now. Yeah, Crystal and I had a conversation about it because my aunt lived, they still live in Atlanta, but they lived a block north of the Rhodes Hotel, and their friends actually previously owned it in the 90s before they sold it, I think, to Gwen. So Crystal and I were trying to work all that out, who had ownership of the timeline there. And your name came up, and I thought, I didn't know that Robin had been involved in that, but that makes sense now.
I got him.
Yeah, it was I forget how many years ago that's been, but it's been 7 or 8 years ago, I think. That, in fact, actually, it came up in my Facebook memories when Grant Wilson was out at Ashmore, and he was doing an event out there. I talked to Gail, who owned it, and we worked out a deal there that I could buy it from her, basically through Lost Limbs Foundation.
I see.
So they've ended up purchasing the building.
Okay, and that was probably sometime in 2017, 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, maybe?
Something like that, probably.
Yeah.
I forget the exact date, what year it was, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, because I was there with Mike in 2018, and I think that was his first year of having it, so that would have been about the proper timeline. But getting back to Ashmore, I want you to kind of give us some breakdown of our residents there. I know we have Joe Bloxam, we have Elva Skinner, and we have Mary and Margaret, the sisters. Can you break them down and give us the true story? Because I think that I know with Joe, there's a question as to where he died after he was hit by the train. And then with Elva, there's some question as to how old she was when she had when the fire burned her. So let's kind of break down those guys for me, if you can.
Yeah, go ahead, Ashley.
Okay, I was waiting to see who was doing what.
Well, we're leaving it up to you guys to pick which one wanted to jump in. You can take turns or go all the way. It don't matter.
as far as Joe, we don't know exactly where in the building he died. We do know he did die in the building.
Okay.
He was on his way back to the building when he was hit by the train. And he did unfortunately pass away in the building. Just not sure where. And then as far as Elva, so she actually did not die in the current building that is standing. She actually died in the previous building. So the building that was built in 1870, the 2-story building that was there. And she was about 10 days before her first birthday when it happened. She was getting ready for her day, getting ready for breakfast, and her dress ended up catching on fire.
Wow.
And she ended up dying from burn injuries is what happened.
So she wasn't quite one yet.
No, she wasn't quite 5.
5. I'm sorry. 5. Okay.
And she is actually buried in Ashmore. So her grave you can actually go visit. And I try to keep it decorated. So I go and put little stuff out for as often as I can and remember. But yes, hers you can actually go visit. And last August, a cousin of mine redoes tombstones, and he actually came down and actually redid her tombstone for us.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So you can read it a lot better now for her.
Is he the guy on YouTube that does that?
No, he's a local guy.
Okay.
He lives about an hour north of us.
Okay.
And I actually just met him. Long story. That's for another time, another day. But
another episode.
And yeah, exactly. But yeah, he was nice enough to come down and do that for us. And it looks a lot better now. And then as far as Mary and Margaret, don't know a lot about them. All of it, most is hearsay. We just know that they had a room on the second floor that's in the corner, that they had their own private room and private bathroom. We do have a picture of them in the building.
Well, that's good.
They were mentally challenged, of course. They seem to like a lot of attention, especially from gentlemen who go in their room and read books to them. It seems like a lot of times when guys go in there and read books that they get activity out of it. So we kind of say they're boy crazy. But other than like specific spirits, there's just so I couldn't even begin to tell you how many we actually have over there.
Right.
Because I think we have some from the land. I think we have some from the building. I think there's some that come and go. I think some people bring some with them, and some stick around.
Right. Yeah.
So I wouldn't even begin to tell you the number or who is over there.
Right. Right.
When you say the land, who are you talking about? American Indians, or are you talking about just people that were in that area? Okay.
Yeah. I think we have all the above, because it's not just the building. We have stuff that happens in the building, but then we also have stuff that happens outside. Each of the bunkhouses that we have that people can stay in has had activity, and then our house has activity.
Right.
It's not just the building.
Yeah.
Most certainly. Okay, and let me ask you a little bit about Joe. I assume Joe was probably mentally challenged as well?
Yes.
Okay,
yes, he was.
That would explain, because I'm going to say most people, if you're on a train track, you hear a train coming, they exit the track. So obviously, he was tired, he's worn out, he's on the way back, and he just didn't see it when he got hit. And obviously, you got to think, he limped clear back to the property. That's pretty good. I mean, to be honest.
Well, there's been, I know I've seen in newspaper articles 2 different things. Either he got back by himself, or he was picked up by somebody and brought back.
Yeah, because that's part of the story I heard, was that farmers found him in a field. And there's some question as to whether he was found deceased in the field and didn't die in the property, or if he was found in the field and brought back to the property.
Well, I mean, he may have still just came back because that's what he knew was home.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So either way, whether he came back in body or in spirit or both, it worked out.
Right.
But I think the interesting thing, Ashley, with Joe is, he's the guy who spent a lot of time in the boiler room. Was he actually part of the maintenance? Did he do maintenance there?
So, yeah, I think so everybody that was here during the poor farm would have had some kind of job.
Right.
So it was a working farm. So if you were here, you did have some kind of job, whether it was working in the building or working in the field. So he would have been basically your quote unquote maintenance man.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have worked in the boiler room and the maintenance room.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of his area that he hangs out. But they don't none of them, I don't think, stay in one area.
Oh, yeah, I agree
They
with you on
kind of
that.
go where they want.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But unfortunately, I think Joe gets tagged with that dark, menacing shadow figure that's lurking in
Yes.
Ashmore, and I don't think that's
Yes.
accurate. What's your opinion?
No, my opinion, I don't think it is Joe that is mean to the women down there. My personal opinion is it's the other one, and he kind of uses Joe as a scapegoat.
Right.
And the other thing you have to think about, too, back in those times, 1916, 17, women would not have been over in that side of the building at all, for one. And for two, we definitely would not look like the way we do today. We wouldn't wear the clothes we do. We
Right.
wouldn't have jewelry on, makeup. We wouldn't even talk, until we were spoken to.
Right. Yep.
And the fact that he's mentally challenged, he's probably very confused. One is why we're over there. And, so he's trying to keep himself from getting in trouble,
Yep.
or he's
Yep.
trying to keep us from getting in trouble.
Right. Because if I remember
and
correctly,
it just comes off, different.
right. Because when I was there, tell me if I'm wrong, but I thought that the men's dining room is connected to the boiler room, and the women's
Yes.
dining room is on the other side of that hallway. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah. So women wouldn't even been in that dining room, let alone the boiler room area.
No.
Okay.
Wow. It kind of reminds me of Randolph, because being separated, and when we introduced women into the men's side, that got a lot of activity really fast. I mean, and I'm sure it is very confusing because they just, in their minds, they didn't belong there. And that would certainly, and you brought up the appearance. Yes. I mean, we've changed, ladies, not we, ladies have changed over a period of time, men have too, but it's certainly, with that big a gap, we're going to have some differences and, probably very confusing. Right. So it makes a difference.
And unlike Randolph, Ashmore only has one hallway. So
right.
the men and women would have been separated by floors instead of on different sides of the hallway, right?
Right.
Now, with Mary and Margaret being there on the second floor, do we assume that the second floor would have been the women's floor and the top floor would have been the men's, or were Mary and Margaret there later on in the iteration of Ashmore?
We assume. I've never seen any articles, unless Robin wants to chime in if he has, where it was one floor or the other. I know it says they were separated as far as men, women, and children, depending on what time frame it was.
Right.
But specifically, I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
I know. Excuse me. I know the third floor. The superintendent stayed up there for the most part, unless it was during the summer. Then he would move to the house because the house had air conditioning. And so that's what they did that. But then most of the floors then were. I don't know that they were separated as far as where they stayed, but it may have been just that they were separated by rooms, not so much by floors.
Oh, okay.
There's only the first floor was basically the dining area.
Mm-hmm.
Second floor would have been rooms. Third floor was superintendent. So you didn't have a lot of space to separate floors.
No.
Out there.
Right, exactly. That was my thinking too, because I was trying to remember. Now, there was a fourth floor before. Now, when was that floor?
There was never a fourth floor.
Was there a top floor, like an attic area, that was knocked out?
There was an attic because where the roof was originally, but the only access to that attic was by ladder.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay. That's something
so
different.
There wasn't even another floor then to be even more separate.
Yeah, there wasn't another floor to really separate people out.
Okay.
So you have mainly 3 floors. The superintendent's got the top floor, and then it went from there on down. Okay.
Right.
Now, what outbuildings do you? And Garrett, bear in mind, I have not been there, so
they don't have many outbuildings left anymore.
Really,
but Ashley, you had 20 outbuildings with the original property? Is that accurate?
Wow.
Yeah, I think there was like 26 or 27, something like that.
Wow.
I mean, they would have had, chicken coops and barns and
Probably a spring and that kind of thing.
different butcher shops and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's the only building that's left now is the actual Ashmore Estates building.
Okay.
But then,
And they had their own school on the property and as
Yeah.
well as a church.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
they had a school and a
Now,
church.
the actual caretaker's house,
Yep.
it is actually still standing. They moved it to the town of Ashmore. I'm not sure why, but it is still standing. It's just in Ashmore now.
Does someone have that, or is it just empty?
Somebody does own it. Nobody lives in it, but
Okay.
somebody does own it.
Well, that's
Okay.
good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Just curious.
So now that we've gone through a little bit of the history and that, can you give us some of your own personal experiences? Because my co-hosts here have not been there. I was there a couple years ago in August for a daytime investigation with my sister and my husband. And the women's kitchen side, we had some interesting activity,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of activity in the boiler room, but not too much. So I'm anxious to get back out there. But Ashley and Robin, I'm sure you guys have a plethora of stories that you want to share with us.
I'll let him go first.
I mean, just to kind of keep them short, but when I bought it, I was, first off, when I go out there, I'm usually working. I live 2 hours away.
Okay.
So if I'm going there, I'm usually working on something. I don't go out there just to kind of sit around and do nothing.
Sure.
But when I bought it, I was out there. It was a Saturday afternoon, I think, I was down in the boiler room with two other females, and we were cleaning the boiler room out. And I told the girls that were with me, I said, hey, let me before we go upstairs, let me tie my shoe, because I said I stepped on a shoelace, and I looked down and my shoelaces were both tied. So something stopped my foot from moving.
Oh.
When I was down there, it almost tripped me in the boiler room.
Wow.
And there was that. And then when I bought the place originally, before I actually bought it, when I was out there looking at everything, and that place was a mess. It was just a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
But I was walking down the second floor hallway, and it just felt like there was something there that was like, help our building. And it was just kind of an emotional time in a way, because it was like the building was in such disrepair that there was just, it was something just said, help us, help our building. And I don't think they were upset with themselves. They were happy with what they were doing there and happy living there. They just didn't like the idea that their building was basically a dump.
Right,
It was
falling
just
apart.
horrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I've heard voices. I've been upstairs, and when I first bought it there, trying to get pigeons out of the building, and I heard somebody walking up the back stairs saying he's up shooting pigeons.
Oh.
And and her dad walked over there, and there was nobody there, and I was the only one in the building. And in that day, I know that, so that wasn't a situation. I was working on the tractor just a couple of years ago, and I heard somebody walking around the. When I was out there in the yard, out by the barn, I was out there working on the tractor and heard somebody walking through the grass over there. I looked up to see who was there, and there was nobody there.
This is like daytime?
Oh, yeah, middle of the afternoon, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Changed the battery out of the tractor.
Yeah, actually, they have quite a few experiences in broad
Daytime?
daylight.
Yeah, that's pretty good to have that much energy. You can be active. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, and everything I just told you was all during the day. It wasn't even at
Wow.
night. Because
Wow.
I usually, and as strange as it is, I really have never, as far as I'm concerned, investigated that building the way that I normally investigate locations.
Sure.
Ashley and I were out there just not that long ago, and we kind of investigated, but it was only for an hour or two. Anyway, that's probably the most I've investigated the building since I bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because just as you're living your life is living around you too, right?
It's been my life for the last 12 years out there, it seems like. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We jokingly said I bought a boat in November of 2013, and it got on the lake one time in 2014, and the second time was last weekend.
Yep, I saw that.
I don't feel bad. Now, I'll tell you, my wife looked at me as soon as you said boat. And I bought one about 5 years ago. And this is going to be a project so I could take the grandkids out on. It's not very big. It's a john boat. And all it really needs is a transom board, which is nothing to do. I've got a full shop out here. I can run one and, varnish it and everything. immediately after buying the boat, I paid $40 for the boat. I bought a trailer for $200 to haul the $40 boat, which probably could have went in the back into my pickup, but that's beside the point. But anyway, I buy it. I've got 2 different trolling motors for it. It's never seen the water but one time to make sure it was seaworthy and didn't have holes in it. And it's still sitting up on, on our property, we have a gravel drive that goes back where we keep trailers, and it's sitting back here. I keep telling them before I die, I'm going to either fix it or haunt it, one or the other when I do. But yeah, I get that. Things happen and good intentions and,
Well, hopefully you get back on that boat again.
Yeah. So that isn't bad at all.
I never intended to buy Ashmore. It was never even a consideration. That wasn't even something I was thinking about doing.
How did it happen?
Kind of weird. And the guy that actually owned it at that time, he called me because I used to run a haunted house. I live in an old movie theater, and we had a haunted house that we ran in my basement.
That's got to
and
be
so
fun.
he called me.
Oh, yeah.
What's it?
I said the movie theater has got to be fun, yeah.
So yeah, it's different. And but he called me, wanted to buy some props. So I told him, I said, yeah, you can come on by if you want to. So he came over and he said, hey, he said, I'm really sorry to bother you on a Saturday. Have you come over and do this? And I said, it's all right. I live upstairs. Not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, that's kind of cool. Can you show me around a little bit? So I said, yeah. So he ended up figuring all the props that he wanted and everything. We got upstairs and we started talking. And I said, so what are you going to do with all these props? And he said he was going to build a haunted house in Indiana. And I said, oh, okay. I said, I get it. And he said, well, I have one in Illinois right now. He said, I'm going to close it down. And I'm like, oh, which one do you have? And he said, Ashmore Estates. I'm like, oh, I've been out there. I said, I was just out there about 6-8 months ago. I said, I was investigating the place. I said, but you can't ever get around in there. It was so full of stuff. I said, it wasn't even worth my time to go out there. And I said, what are you going to do with it? And he said, I'm going to sell it. And my wife's sitting on the other side of the room going, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And, because she knew that I had talked about Ashmore before, and Scott Kelly, who owned it, offered it to me before because I knew Scott anyway from haunted house stuff, and he wanted a ridiculous amount of money for it. So I told him, and I said, no, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So I asked Robert, I said, can I come out and take a look at it? And he said, yeah, that's fine. So we arranged to go out the next weekend. We went out there and looked at it. And that's when I walked to that second floor, and something in that hallway said, help our building. And on the way home, Norma told me, she's like, you might as well buy it. You know you're going to. And I said, and when your wife tells you to buy something,
take the advantage, yeah.
Twist my arm. You got to do it. So,
most
so
certainly.
I ended up calling to get worked it out and ended up buying it. And, I pulled up. In fact, we closed on a Friday in May, and I pulled up in front of the building, took a picture of the building, and said, the only thing cooler than owning one haunted location is owning 2.
Well, yeah.
And I posted it on Facebook, and my phone blew up. And,
wow.
I think it was good in like an hour, from people calling, texting, or something. So, and when I bought it, there was no windows, no roof, no water, no electricity.
Yep.
A shell.
I can't think of what else there was, but it was just, there was really, the biggest thing, there was no reason to buy it other than I just felt I needed to. So that's what I did.
But look how far you've come. I'll be honest, I have several friends that run haunted attractions. I'm a Mason, so I have a lodge that used to, for years, Fright Lodge. And I used to volunteer. I helped run their security and their emergency medical. And, I'll tell you, that's a lot. It's big business, but there's so much different from running a real haunted venue than running a theatrical one. And we actually investigated a haunted theatrical it's been years ago, venue. There was a haunted house that was actually truly haunted. And we ended up getting called in. And it's very hard to investigate a haunted house that has props.
Yeah, just like Robin said, it was just so packed full you couldn't get anywhere, right?
And you can't tell. A lot of them were air or pneumatically actuated, so some of these had the ability to store air, and they would occasionally move. And there's nothing more alarming to a parapsychology investigator standing next to a prop that moves. Yeah. And the only thing that moves faster than the prop is the investigator that was standing next to it. And we ran into that. The night we investigated it, the heating went out. It was in August. It was like 100 in the building. And I mean, it was something else. But certainly that's an interesting way to come out with theatrical into that. And I tell you, though, if you hadn't have got it, it probably wouldn't have survived. I mean, it probably would not have.
Actually, I think that's what you said. I was watching a video clip with you, and I don't think that the building would still be standing if Robin hadn't purchased it, right?
Oh yeah, I've said that since I came up here, that if it wasn't for him, that it probably wouldn't be standing.
Right.
There's a newspaper article out from 1999 that they wanted to tear that building down because they said it wasn't stable and
Really?
it needed to go.
Wow.
So yeah, and I got the article someplace, but yeah, I think it was either Cole County or from Ashmore, but yeah, it was kind of a doom and gloom type article. It's like, yeah, the place needs to be torn down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just imagine we could have lost it all. Ashley, I know that you have got like a million stories to tell.
Well, living right next to it, you're bound to gain a few. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I got that many, but
you've got quite a few from what I've heard. So kind of give us your top picks here.
I mean, obviously the biggest one is going to be seeing a, probably 6.5 foot tall dark shadow right in front of you.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Area,
that's
right?
probably the biggest one. And again, that was during the day, and I was not even investigating. I mean, it was like 10:30 in the morning on a Sunday.
Surprise.
And I was just in there cleaning.
Wow.
I was in the building by myself and just in there cleaning. I wasn't even doing anything, just minding my own business, and started hearing footsteps. And I mean, they were loud, sounded like somebody had concrete boots on. And the next thing I know, I look up and he's standing right in front of me.
Wow.
And now I've seen him probably, 4 or 5 times since then, on all, each floor.
Do you think he's any particular person or just a unidentified wraith floating in the building?
I'm honestly not sure.
Okay.
I don't know.
Fair answer.
He just kind of goes to the building, does what he wants. I'm not really scared of him now because I'm used to him at this point. So he's just there. And I've always said, there's nothing evil or demonic in that building. I don't care what anybody says. We have some that like to play games and pick on people and do that kind of thing. But other than that,
Well, I always tell people that with ghosts, they're no different than they were in their life. There's some that are playful, they're apt to be, jokerish and want to play games and want to screw with you a little bit. Then there are those that are mean. It doesn't mean, one of the famous things we always talk about is we get calls and they go, "We've got a demon in our house." No, you have a very angry spirit, not a demon.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it comes with that. I mean, people in death, unfortunately, they're not much different than they were in life. I think everyone has this envision that when we die, and I don't see that to be the case from the data I've collected over the 30 years I've been doing this, that, we change a great deal. We take a lot of that with us into our next existence. And I think that's just how it is,
Right, exactly. But same thing. I mean, I've heard voices, footsteps, music, seen shadows. Shadows are a big thing. I've seen
what kind of music have you
seen
heard?
A ball. Like piano music playing.
Okay. Like something that would have been in the day room or something there when they had it as a
Yep.
Yeah.
There is a piano there, isn't there?
Yes, there is. There's a piano on the
Makes
second
sense.
floor.
Okay, makes sense.
I've seen a ball roll down the hallway. And that was again during the day, and that was just on a tour. We weren't investigating during that either. It was, grandparents and 2 granddaughters who wanted to come see the building, and the granddaughter started hitting her grandma, and we all turned around, and there was a ball rolling down the hallway.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's not just the building either. You have seen things outside, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We've, several years ago, me and my youngest son, seen shadows, outside by the wagon that we have in the yard. People have seen shadows outside. People have seen full apparitions outside. Same thing like Robin said, where he heard footsteps out in the yard. I was outside decorating my front porch one time. And Robin had came because I have like a kind of like a quote unquote mother-in-law suite at the end of the house. And whenever he comes over, that's where he stays. And I had saw him drive up, And so I thought it was him walking out to come say hi or whatever. And I turned around and nobody was there. So I texted him real quick and I'm like, hey, where are you? And he's like, I'm in the suite putting groceries up. And I was like, oh, okay.
All right. Well, that wasn't you.
Yeah, that wasn't you then. So, yeah, again, I mean, we have a little bit of everything. And it's, we try to tell people that it doesn't have to be nighttime. It doesn't have to be dark. They don't care if the lights are on or off.
That's great that you got that much energy, you got that much going. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really think, it's because, in my opinion, I think it's because of the current caretakers, Robin and Ashley.
Yeah. They feel comfortable.
They've created the home again.
Yeah. And they created that safe, comfortable, environment.
Right. And is it on the third floor, Ashley, where you have all the pictures and everything and the wall of the gravestones all up there?
Yes.
Now,
so there's a whole, it's like a banner.
Wow.
And they've taken pictures of all the grave headstones.
Wow.
Of the people that they can find.
Uh-huh.
And their names are up there. They're documented.
Wow.
There's pictures, historical pictures there up on the wall. You can read through the history. You guys have really done an amazing job out there. It's really, really awesome, guys.
I got to ask now, has anyone written a book yet on your location?
Yeah, Richard Estep.
Oh, that's right. Richard did, didn't he? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot. Okay. Richard and I share a history. I don't even want to get into that, but anyway, yeah, we're both firemen, and when I was writing my second book, he drove me nuts for about weeks on end. Have you got it done yet? Have you got it? I don't know how the hell he does it. I don't know. I mean, I'm retired and he's working, and I don't know why or how he manages to crank out books every 3 months. I'm thinking, I don't get it. But anyway, yeah, he's a good guy. I think a lot of Richard.
You guys just keep up the great work.
Yeah, I can't.
That's just awesome.
I got to tell you, I went through divorce back 16 years ago, and I ended up living in a caretaker apartment in a lodge. It was haunted, and I'm very good friends with the Grand Master, and I'm not going to mention which lodge or anything else because I want to stay good friends with him this week or this year. Anyway, I don't want my card pulled. Anyway, but yeah, it was haunted. And people used to say, how can you live there? I never felt endangered. I really felt that most of the ghosts there were brothers. They might have been annoyed at something I was doing, but they weren't dangerous. I never felt I could walk around that lodge at night and check it. I was more worried about what wasn't ghosts that could be walking around. Yeah, we were in an area where some of the natives weren't real friendly, and you never knew if somebody might break in. I was relieved to know it was a ghost making the noise and not somebody had breaking into the building. So, I get that. I get that 100%. And I kind of gather that's the way both of you feel. You don't feel endangered when you're there. You feel comfortable with the spirits that are there. Am I off?
No, I agree. I think so. I mean, there was only one time that I've ever left the building, and I didn't leave it like running out of the building or anything. But it was in May of 2014, and I was upstairs working electrical. And there was something in the middle of the afternoon, something up there was just like telling me they wanted me to leave. And, we kind of get that feeling when you go to a party, everybody kind of looks at you like, what is he doing here?
Yes.
And that's kind of the way of feeling I had. And after about an hour and a half, I finally said, if you guys don't want me here, you guys have a party later and I'm not invited, okay, I'll leave. That's fine. And so I did.
Wow.
But I always tell people, like, I think it was pretty much like maybe they were afraid because I was the only one in the building. Maybe they were afraid I was going to hook up electrical wrong or do something wrong that could hurt myself or something. Or maybe there was somebody going to be breaking in the building and they wanted me out of there before they got there. So, but I've never had that feeling in the building since.
Yeah.
I have to share this because I think Ashley get a kick out of it. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm always the guy that ghosts don't talk to. I'm always the guy that doesn't feel anything, that doesn't get touched or anything. So we're on an investigation. It was probably 10 years ago. And we were in Cumberland, Indiana. And we were at an apartment. And it was just one of those weird deals. I was walking down a hallway. And it was during setup, and it was late. I would say probably 9 o'clock. But I'm walking down the hallway. And all of a sudden, a shadow figure steps out in front of me. And that was the most, because this is the first time this ever happened. So my reaction was all over the place. I remember yelling, "Oh, Jesus," real loud, and I jumped back. And that was my first real experience at seeing something up close, after all these years. And I'll never forget it because our tech manager managed to clip that out of the EVPs. It became his phone ringer for like 2 years. And it drove me nuts. Every time I call, you hear me go, oh, Jesus, And yeah, he thought that was real amusing. But anyway, he's retired now, but he was our tech manager for a long time. But yeah, that was his big thing. And I tell you what, when you don't expect it, I just don't. It's a whole different feeling than when you're going down through a hallway at 1 a.m. in the morning and you're trying to get interaction. You're looking for it. But when you're not expecting it, my God, I can relate to that. I mean, that is that's a scary feeling all at one time, and I really never realized how much fear is there until you have something like that happen. I feared a lot of things, but that's fear in its own special category, all its own. So it.
So I know before we started recording here, we had asked you guys about how things are going now, and so just before we wrap up here, I know that you guys got the roof all taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness we had some nice weather, and you got that done before the heat came in, Robin.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And from what I understand and what I read, the masons are coming to do the brickwork in a couple of months, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully about September.
Oh, good deal.
Okay. Good.
Outstanding. Now, do you want to talk a little bit about renting and everything for those out there that would be interested in doing so?
Sure,
Either one.
Ashley.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We got you.
He's the one with the phone number, not me.
You can email us on info@ashmoreestates.net, or you can message us on Facebook. You can call or text 217-899-9978. Our calendar is always kept up to date on our website, ashmoreestates.net. As far as bookings, we do daytime, nighttime. We do 2-hour tours for people. I will say we do not have a Saturday night open until December.
Wow.
We don't have a Friday night open until November.
Wow.
We are booking for 2027, so if people are wanting to book for next year, we are already doing that. So if you want a Friday or Saturday next year, go ahead and get in contact with us.
I think we're going to, because everybody's sitting here shaking their head real violently when you drop 2027, because I don't know how I'm going to get it in this year, so it's got to be next. I think we're probably going to be getting a hold of you.
Definitely do that sooner than later.
Certainly.
You guys are a hot commodity out there.
Well, heck, I may want to.
Deservedly so.
Yeah.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, most certainly. I got to admit, nothing else, I'll come up and share some time with you. You can teach me some more construction skills or something up there. My understanding is you have a good repertoire. We bought this house 2 years ago and still working on it. And I'll tell you, it was a lot easier when I'm 20. I'm 60 now, and I do the same work. I just don't do it near as fast.
It was a lot easier for me when I was 55 because I'll be 70 in December. So.
Wow. Yeah, you're clocking up there with me. It slows you down. The heat I don't like. That's the thing. I've got outdoor projects, and I find myself trying to figure out if I can find an indoor project where the air conditioning is at, because I really don't want to be out. Part of it, I suppose. So, well, folks, we've had a great time with both of you tonight. We really have. Is there anything you want to add or anything you want people to know about? I mean, Ashmore is legendary, I think. I think you guys have done a fantastic job. It shows in the work, the effort you put into it, and certainly the website and everything else as well. But is there anything else we can tell the public about Ashmore Estates?
Yeah, I think that the only thing I would say is that people, when they come out there, they always come back, because it's one of those places that just kind of draws you in and doesn't want you to leave. So, and Bill Chappell from Digital Dowsing told me the same thing. He sat in there one afternoon, and it was 95 degrees in the shade, and I was going to take him back to the hotel, and he said, I told him, I'm going to be here for 3 or 4 more hours cleaning stuff up, and he said, can I just sit here? He said, because I really just don't want to leave this building.
Wow.
I'm like, sure. So, so Bill sat there for 3 or 4 hours while I was finishing things off, and just sat there in the heat and just enjoyed the building.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Yeah. Outstanding. Well, we'll certainly keep in touch, and and anything we can do to help, let us know. I mean, we we certainly, as soon as Crystal called me and told me what was going on, they were raising money. We jumped in and do what we could to help. But we will hook up with you for next year at least at the minimum, because it sounds like that's probably our best shot.
Yep.
And maybe during the colder months.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll get with you. So, folks, I want to thank you so much, and we are going to go to a commercial break at this time. We'll be right back. Good evening, listeners. I would like to remind everybody that this October is a very big event in Indiana, the Crawfordsville Paracon. Yours truly will be a guest speaker there. It is the October 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Please consult our Facebook page, Instagram, and our website for details. Again, you won't want to miss this. It's free to the public. There's over 100 vendors there, and there's going to be some workshops that you can pay to attend. Our own Heather Lawson, our Ghost to Ghost podcast director, is putting on a herb class. Come out. Come one, come all. Enjoy. Again, October 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Don't miss it.
Tonight's ghost story of the day comes from the book Ghosts and Legends of Crawfordsville, Indiana, written by Christopher and Christina Hunt. This is the Rotary Jail. In 1881, the very first Rotary Jail in the United States of America was built in Crawfordsville, and it remains one of the 3 still able to operate. It began to accept prisoners in 1882 and continued to hold prisoners until 1973, when it was closed. It could hold a maximum of 37 inmates while requiring only 2 deputies to monitor them. It was an interesting design created by William H. Brown and Benjamin F. Hall of Indianapolis. Its design allowed the cells to be completely sealed off, for the most part, and only 1 inmate released at a time. This made it almost impossible to escape and kept the guards working the jail much safer. It was specifically placed to be close to the courthouse for quick and cheap transportation of prisoners back and forth. The concept was to be extremely secure without requiring much manpower to save the community money. The design even allowed inmates to have indoor plumbing before many of the homes in town got it. It was the very first building in Crawfordsville constructed to receive electricity so that it could be immediately put on the grid when the city was ready to use it. As such, the light fixtures in the sheriff's residence were made to hold either gas or electricity. Years later, in 1939, the Indianapolis Star reported that because of the design, the jail was listed as one of 15 county jails in Indiana that were unfit for human habitation. The downside to the design related to heating and cooling. It became extremely cold or hot depending on the time of year. Many of the inmates were picked up from being drunk and so they were hot-blooded. This issue caused many of those who were locked inside to lay as close to the bars as possible to get fresh, cool air from the windows located on the outer walls. This, combined with the machinery rotating the cells, being virtually quiet, caused many severe injuries to the sleeping inmates. There were several attempts to repair or even replace the jail, but in June 1973, the inmates were transferred to a new county jail. Shortly after it was no longer being used as a jail, the Tanbrom family purchased the property to stop it from being destroyed. In May 1975, the old jail was placed in the National Register of Historical Places and included in the Historic American Engineering Record. It was also in 1975 the Montgomery County Cultural Foundation was started to preserve the jail and turn it into a museum. The jail housed 2 hangings during this time, the first being John Coffey on October 15, 1885, and the second being John C. Henning on May 27, 1886. After Henning's death, the inmates of the jail claimed they could hear him crying and wailing in the cells. They pleaded to be let go so they wouldn't have to hear his laments any longer. Many people believe that John Coffey can still be seen on certain nights on the grounds of the jail. They said that they feel his presence when they visit the jail for a tour or some other event. He has been sighted in many places since his death, but he always comes back to the jail to check on who may visit the place. Many residents of the jail, both inmates and others, recall waking up to the gospel music playing near dawn. Even to this day, if you listen quietly near sunrise, you might hear gospel music being played or sung. John was a devout man, and it was thought that he continues to sing his songs even now that he has passed on. Is he praising the Lord beyond the grave, or just filling the air with beautiful music to say hello to the new rising sun? Sometimes visitors and the like see a little girl roaming the jail. She is mainly seen in the basement or the second floor. She is known to be nice and either singing or laughing. What would keep a child around after their passing in such a place? If you happen to see her smiling face, don't be scared. It may just brighten your day. Some say some of the sheriff are still on duty some nights, and if you are on the top floor, you may see him in his uniform as he walks around the building. Many hear things such as voices or other strange sounds besides seeing dark figures and such. To some, the experiences that they have are nice and gentle, while others they are dark and unfriendly. What causes such a different reaction for each person we might not know, but the jail seems to have a weight or loudness about it that you can feel if you were there long enough, according to just about anyone who walks in the place. If you are ever in the area around Halloween and a nighttime tour is up your alley, you may be surprised by what you see, hear, or feel.
Thanks for listening to Ghost. Again, I'm your host, Chief Lawson. You can find Ghost on all major formats on the 15th and 30th of the month at midnight. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, maybe have a question or subject you'd like to ask about on air or be used on the show, please email us at ghosttoghost@spiritindiana.com, ghosttoghost@spiritindiana.com. I want to thank my production staff on Spirit, Jennifer Verne, our research manager and our producer, and Heather Lawson, our trainer on Spirit and our podcast director, for helping make these podcasts possible. My chief of staff, Andrew Brooks, for his guidance and help on the scripts, and everyone else involved. Thank you so much. See you next time. Until then, stay safe and remember the truth is out there. Good night. Ghost to Ghost podcast and its contents is the property of Spirit Paranormal Ltd., all rights reserved. We welcome you to download and play the podcast and share with others for personal use. You may not, except with written permission, use or distribute its contents for commercial use. Spirit Indiana Paranormal, covering the Hoosier State since 2002, Indy's oldest parapsychology investigation group. If you're experiencing what you believe to be paranormal issues, reach out to us for help at www.spiritindiana.com or call our hotline at 317-883-9103. Again, that is www.spiritindiana.com or our hotline at 317-883-9103. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself and the ones you love, and be safe out there.